Right, hello, so I'm going to do a little video of my sister. It's going to be a revision video going on my channel and
my channel.
Her channel. So this is Sophie. We're going to basically do it on the cosmological argument, which is an argument, and the teleological argument, which is are both arguments that I need to know for A levels, so yeah. Sophie's basically going to ask me the questions, and I'm just going to answer them and maybe elaborate a little bit on some of them too, so yeah. Take it away. That's the wrong side.
I knew that. Totally meant to happen. Totally meant to happen. Okay. Who is the first philosopher you can trace the cosmological same thing, argument to?
It's Aristotle, and he said that nothing can come from nothing. So, because everything in the universe is contingent, everything in the universe is dependent on something else for its existence, there must have been a time when nothing at all existed. And, well, if that's the case, then what brought the first thing into existence and what keeps everything in motion now? And Aristotle postulated that this was the prime mover. And Aquinas developed this and said, no, this is the Christian God, which is essentially the prime mover but with a Christian twist. So, yeah.
Kant called the argument the cosmological. What does the title tell you about what it is called?
Oh, it's about the cosmos or the universe and things like that.
Oh no, what it is about.
It's about the cosmos and the universe. So it's about like looking at the world and seeing how. I'm probably going to get this too mixed up with teleological, but it's like what I've just explained. Everything in the universe is dependent on other things. So there must have been some sort of prime mover which brought everything into the being. So it's basically about the cosmos.
Is the argument a prior or a I can't say it.
A priori or a posteriori. This argument is a posteriori, and it's inductive because it's not based on logic, it's not based on reason like maths. It's based on evidence in the world. So, for example, this specifically, the cosmological argument, is you look at the world and you see contingency all around you, and then you derive that there must be some sort of necessary being which brought that into motion. So yeah, it's a posteriori, not a priori.
His thinking was developed by a Christian saint and taught over 10,000 years later.
1,000.
Yes, I think. Who was that?
It was Aquinas. So he was a Christian saint who I mentioned earlier, and he was heavily inspired by Aristotle and the prime mover, but he put a Christian twist onto Aristotelian thought.
What is the 5 ways in the first way?
What in the 5 ways is the first way? So the first way is the way of motion, I believe. Am I right? Yeah? No, is it called? I just need to check this one. Yeah, it's the way of motion, and this is the unmoved mover. So God acts as the unmoved mover. He was that which existed, which didn't need to be caused or didn't need to be moved in existence. He's just necessary. He just exists. He's not contingent or dependent on anything else for his existence.
What in the 5 ways is the second way?
The second way is cause. So this is the idea of God being the uncaused cause, which is closely tied to the first way of motion. It's the idea that God didn't need a cause; He's necessary. So yeah.
What in the 5 ways is the third way?
The third way is contingency. So this is, as I've already explained already, the idea that everything in the universe is dependent on something else. Everything in the universe could or could not have existed, and therefore there was a time when nothing existed, and Aristotle said nothing can come from nothing, and this carried over by Aquinas. So there must have been something necessary which just existed, and this we call God, as Aquinas would say.
At the end of each argument, he had a phrase.
And this we call God, as Aquinas says. Yep.
How did Hume criticise the argument?
Am I going to be able to remember this? The cosmological argument. He criticised it in a lot of ways, actually. we could use the idea of infinite regression, which is the idea that the universe doesn't necessarily have a beginning. So it's just like Big Bang, Big Crunch, Big Bang, Big Crunch. And if this is the case, then we don't need a prime mover because all matter has already existed and the universe has just always existed, and it's just like a brute fact, like Bertrand Russell would say. So I think that's right. I'm just going to check that. Yeah, if the world had a beginning.
Note another of Hume's criticism.
Another, right. Okay, so just because everything within the universe has a cause, so you have a cause because your mum and dad, my mum and your dad had sex and they created you, that's your cause. And everything else in the universe is the same. So this tablet exists because it has a tablet maker or a formal cause, efficient cause, as Aristotle would say. But just because everything within the universe seems to have a cause, that doesn't mean that the whole universe has a cause. Just because everyone in the universe has a mother doesn't mean the whole universe has a mother. And I think that was Aristotle's in Aquinas' postulation. So, I mean, Hume's postulation.
Okay. Do you believe in God and why?
Ooh, this got deep. Well, it depends what you mean by God, really, because, well, that's actually a really big question. It depends what you mean by God. So,
do you believe he was the one who made the earth, who is the creator of all life?
I don't know. The way that I see God is I see God as a pragmatic idea. So I see belief in God as having practicality for the human race and for the survival of our species, because it's a belief that almost holds people together. It acts as a glue that sticks people together. And this is sort of like Wittgenstein's idea of religion, where it's just a game that people play and it has social benefits to it, but I don't necessarily know whether God exists objectively in the material world, but perhaps when most Christians and religious people say that they believe in God, we shouldn't necessarily assume that they mean that they're talking about an objective thing, and the fact that they are talking about an objective thing, or the possibility that they are talking about an objective thing, we shouldn't assume that we know exactly how that objective thing would manifest itself in the world. So we shouldn't assume that we know how that being exists. It's sort of like mathematics. Like some people, well, mathematics is something that exists numerically or independently of the human experience, and it's something we discover. So perhaps that's the same with God. God's obviously metaphysical, or obviously existing outside of the realm of the material world, and maybe it's just something that we tap into and discover, and all of the different religions, that's what they've been trying to do. Because I think religion's clearly got some sort of significance because of the fact that it's so universal and it's something that we tend to fall into, and maybe it's because of the stories and that we're storytelling creatures, and it's just something which is beneficial for our survival. But I don't think that would make it trivial neither. I don't think that would make it mundane. I think it still could have importance. I don't think we should be so quick to reduce religion down to just mysterious superstition which has no value, and it's just a bunch of lies and rubbish, even though that might be the case for some parts of religion. I don't think that's the whole of it. So does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
do you think that the Bible is a lie, or people believe it because they feel it's true?
That again is another quite deep question. I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer it. I think that there are lies in the Bible, but then we've got to ask, well, what do you mean by truth? And there's a big debate about this, and Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson spent 2 hours discussing exactly what the word truth means. So Jordan Peterson takes the stance that truth is pragmatic. If something's only really true if it also has pragmatic value for human existence. Whereas Sam Harris says something's true regardless of its utility. So for example, blatant facts of science are true regardless of their utility for human existence. And okay, that's indisputable. I don't think you can really deny that. But perhaps there's another element to truth whereby something also has to be pragmatically valuable for it to be true. So, for example, religion. We can say, oh, religion's just a lie, but then we look at the utility of religion and all of the good things that it does. But I'm not denying all the bad things it also does. But the fact that it does seem to have positive elements to it, and perhaps because it's so universally applicable, so universally prevalent, we shouldn't necessarily assume that we don't know the purpose, that we do know the purpose of religion, because I don't think we do. And if that's the case, then we shouldn't be so quick to eradicate religion, because we don't know what else we'll be eradicating alongside it. So we could be eradicating some sort of essential truth to human nature that we just haven't actually been able to tap into yet, and we obviously don't want to do that, because that could be detrimental for the survival of our race, and I can't see that being good at all. So, is the Bible a truth or a lie? I don't know. I think people find subjective truth in it. I think some of it is lies, obviously, but I think a lot of it is mythological, but that doesn't mean that it's invalid. Myths generally, they contain archetypal value, as Carl Jung's talked about, and so we shouldn't just dismiss them as meaningless. I think, yeah, so I don't think the Bible is necessarily a lie, but whether it's objectively true, that's a big place for speculation, and I don't know the answer to that definitively.
I've got one more question. This is out of the blue, but which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Ooh, well, I could say that's a meaningless question, because it's one that I don't necessarily know how to answer, and I don't know how I would test it. But well, I guess with Ayer's weak verification, we could test it, because we could test it in principle. We would know exactly what we'd have to do to find that, but we'd only have to have a time machine in order to go back in time to the point where the chicken or the egg was conceived first. But if we're going down the lines of evolution, so I think this is correct, that a chicken evolved from an oviraptor, which was a dinosaur which looked supposedly like a chicken, but it depends exactly what point that dinosaur became a chicken. So I understand that the evolution happens over millions of years, and I don't think there's one set point that dinosaur became a chicken. It was like, there was a point where it had more dinosaur features, and a point where it had more chicken features. And so technically speaking, if that dinosaur laid an egg, and each time the dinosaur laid an egg, it became slightly more chicken, then the egg had to have come first, had to have come before the chicken, because, well, that's assuming that there was a set point between dinosaur and chicken, but I think it's a much more grey area than that. It was probably more like dinosaur, chicken, and then chicken. So I couldn't answer that question. I could just speculate. That's pretty much it. Yeah. How long have we recorded? 13 minutes. Do you want to do the teleological argument, and then we'll cut it off there?
Right. Comment down in the description whether you think the chicken or the egg came first.
This is obviously the most important point out of the entire video, by the way, so you better do it. Okay, right, we probably should do the teleological argument though, seriously. I need to know it. We've got 10 questions
okay,
on it.
fine.
Okay, thanks.
What is another name for the design argument?
The teleological argument, and teleological is taken from the Greek telos, which means purpose, and Aristotle talks about this a lot. Okay?
The DA is usually understood in two ways. What are the two ways?
Design qua purpose and design qua regularity. Aquinas.
Yeah, same thing. Thought that things without intelligence could not direct themselves towards an end.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to be directed by a being with intelligence. What analogy? Same thing. Did he use to explain this?
Aquinas. He used the arrow and the archer. So the archer requires, the arrow requires an archer for the arrow to be moved. So if you've just got an arrow, and no archer, then the arrow can't be propelled. But yeah, so, and God's like the archer and the universe is like the arrow, I guess.
Who told the story of the man walking across the heath?
William Paley.
What two things did he stumble across?
He stumbled across a rock and a watch, and the rock is something that you'd sort of expect to see in nature. So it's something like you're walking along, you see a rock on the ground, and it's like, oh well, I think nothing of it. It's just here because it's here. That it's meant to be here. But if you see a watch on the ground, well, that watch is complex. It seems to have a purpose. It does something, and it's intricate. So that might lead us to think, well, maybe the universe was designed. Well, it leads us to think that the watch has a watchmaker. And then we compare the watch to the universe, because the universe is also extremely complex. Like, think of your eye, think of your body. It's an extremely complex organism which is able to do things which require complex processes. And so that might lead us to believe that the universe is designed, but you could dispute this with evolution, but you could dispute that again with perhaps God or an intelligent designer is guiding the process of evolution, but that seems to contradict Genesis and God making the world in 6 days, so yeah.
The argument works by comparison. What label do we therefore give it?
Oh, an analogy, because it compares watch to the universe.
Identify one of Hume's criticisms of the design argument.
Okay, one of Hume's criticisms of the design argument is that we assume that we know the nature of the creator of the universe, so we might assume that it was the Christian God, the Abrahamic God, when it could be a female god, or it could be a team of gods, and perhaps, or it could be a trainee god, and perhaps it would make more sense for it to be trainee gods, because, well, the universe isn't perfect. There's a lot of flaws, like the problem of evil, and if it was an omnibenevolent being, then wouldn't the world be a bit more of a perfect place? I don't know.
How did Mill criticise the argument?
Okay, so John Stuart Mill, a key thinker in utilitarianism, also an atheist, criticised the argument by saying that, well, if there was a creator, he must have been evil, and it's basically the same point I've just made with the problem of evil. Because there's so much evil in the world, the God who created the world can't have been a good God. So that's basically his point.
What is the anthropic
principle? This is actually one that I'm really not comfortable with at all. But I think it's to do with the complexity of the universe. But I'm actually going to have to look at the back for a minute.
Even adults have to search things up.
Yeah, I'm not that much of an adult. 19
You're
years.
19 in a day.
Yeah, I've only been doing philosophy for a few years. The universe seems finely tuned just right for intelligent life. So I guess this is in support for creationism, because the universe is so fit, Earth is so fit for intelligent life in comparison to everywhere else that perhaps it has got a designer, but then again we don't know the chances of life being possible within a set universe. So yeah, I guess that's who developed the anthropic principle? Tennant. That was him. Okay. That's all. Right, so if you enjoyed, then leave a like. If you want to see some more videos with my little sister right here, then that would be great.
Go subscribe to Weird Things for more videos.
And I like thinking. Okay, yeah, she's only 11 by the way, so she's a good thinker, a budding philosopher in the making. Got lots of questions about life, and yeah, right, so thanks for watching.